Hello and welcome. For the Looking Back series, I'm Mary Ann Pleva. It was a great day for Essex when Carl Ellison and his wife Janice decided to make their home in downtown Essex. That was in 1956 when both were teachers and newly married. Although not an Essex native, Carl has more than made up for this in his devotion, hard work, and giving to the town for 66 years. A good listener who has the ability to bring opposing sides together, Carl has served on a number of commissions and boards, including 2 terms as first selectman and several as minority selectman. I'm pleased to welcome Carl Ellison to this program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Wow, I'm so glad you're here. We're going to get going as we have so many questions to cover. And I want to start with your family because they were, you told me, from the town of Sprague, your parents and grandparents. So how did they arrive in that location?
Well, my maternal grandfather was a medical doctor in Sprague, or in Baltic. Mm-hmm. And he grew up in Stonington, but he graduated from the University of Vermont Medical School somewhere in the 1870s or 80s, and he had a practice. And my mother was born in 1906, and sadly he passed away when he was 52, and my mother never knew him. But he left behind a son who was 6 years old, and my mother at age 2. And my grandmother remarried, and from there my mother moved on to Willimantic, and then she became a registered nurse, educated at the Bacchus Hospital. And my dad's parents came from England. His mother, my grandmother, was born in India, and she was the daughter of an Indian girl and a British soldier. And she was born about 1863.
How interesting.
Her mother passed away when she was 12, and she had 3 siblings. And her father got out of the army and moved back to England. And so she got married sort of early in life to my grandfather. And they immigrated to Connecticut about 1900. My father was born in 1902. And my grandfather delivered him at that time.
So they moved to Wyndham then, or are they still Sprague?
Yes, when I was in sixth grade, my parents bought a home in South Wyndham, and we moved there around Christmas time of 1943-4, and I went to the Wyndham Grammar School and then on to Wyndham High School.
And did you like that? There was probably more country life, or were they both?
It was all country. We lived right next to a dairy farm and a chicken farmer right close by. As a youngster, you think of sanitation issues today. My mother would say, well, run up to Mr. Sweet's chicken farm and buy some eggs and get the cracks because they're 10 cents a dozen. And we had cracked eggs. We never thought of salmonella or anything of that nature.
If there was no crack in the egg, did you make a little crack?
Yeah. And another fellow and I, same age as me, Hallis Ridgway, we would work for Mr. Sweet, and sometimes we would candle eggs, and that was when the chicken laid eggs. There were a variety of sizes, and we'd have to put them on a scale to weigh them, and then look through the chicken with a candle behind it, lighted, and it would show whether or not there was anything inside developing. And so then we would put them in various boxes.
Oh my goodness.
So he could sell them.
I didn't know that's how they did it.
In those days.
Yeah. So you worked there, you were pretty young. You were like...
About 12.
Yeah. So that's where you develop your strong work ethic, I would guess, huh?
Well, if I can get away with laziness, I do.
Okay. So you had a couple of siblings.
Yeah, 2 younger brothers. Yes. Yeah. And they
also joined you on the farm, working?
Well, no, they never worked on the farm, but my next door neighbor, Alice, and I would work for Mr. Blashinsky, who had the dairy farm. And he was a nice man to work with. He would put us on a back end of a a load of hay, and we'd have to stomp it down. He would lift it up from the fields, and he had a pair of horses, and the horses would pull the hay wagon, and we would take it back to the farm from the hayfield, and he would hook it up to the barn where he had a pulley that would, and a grapple that would pick the hay up and bring it into the loft. And Alice and I would be pulling on a rope to open up the grappling hook. Takes all the weight and strength we had to open it up, and the hay would drop off in the upper level of the barn.
Sounds like more fun than work.
Well, yeah, it was a lot of fun, jumping around the hay and riding the hay ride. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you meet your wife, Janice?
Janice was a junior at Willimantic State Teachers College, and I started as a freshman. And a friend of mine introduced us in the school library one day. So we kind of hit it off right then. Yeah. And we got married, I think in 1955. But I met her in 1952.
Yeah. So you were pretty, newly married when you did move.
I was 19, she was 20.
Older woman.
That's what I used to say to her, but she didn't care to hear that too often.
Oh, especially she got older too, probably.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So I think we have a nice photo of Carl and Janice. Oh, we got that one too. That's a good one.
That was a wedding photo.
The wedding photo. But then we have one of them. Oh, no, but that's a good one. I think we have one of them. There we go. You were very young in that picture, right? So you're probably
yes.
dating. Okay. And you came in 1956.
Yep.
You could show that photo again yeah, there you go. That was in the annual report, so we'll talk about so you were newly married, a new teacher, and just out of the service, right?
Right.
And, so here's the big question. How did you ever select Essex? It was so far away from Sprague and all that.
I was separated from the Army in June of 1956. And we moved to East Hartford and lived there for a short time. But Janice received a phone call from her college roommate, said that there was an opening in Essex for a second grade teacher, and would she be interested? And sure enough, she said sure. And so we moved to Essex in 1956 in December. And
you must have come out, to check out the town, right?
Well, we moved to 8 Bushnell Street.
Oh yes, we have a nice, beautiful picture of that house.
Yeah.
So you were really a downtown Essex person, right?
Yeah, a nice neighborhood to live in when you're just around the corner from all the shops.
Right. You talked about Essex, how it changed from that time when you were...
Well, Essex was quite small. There were probably about 2,500 people at that time. And today I guess it's 6,000 or more.
Oh yeah, over seven, I think, yeah. So yeah, things must have been different.
Well, there were hardly any cars on Main Street at night, and there weren't very many street lights.
And you said between Cross Street and the top strip part where you lived was, what, a lot of commercial activity with bars, right?
As I remember, there were three bars in Essex. The Griswold Inn, of course, and Mrs. Bluch's restaurant, which is today the Black Seal, and it hasn't changed much inside. And
except for the fire, but that didn't change anything. They had the fire a few years ago.
Right. And there was a gasoline station downtown where Provisions is located now, and where the new Swiss Privé.
Oh, right. Yeah.
organization
It's
is
in
going to
there.
move
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
where the art museum has been. That was originally a grocery store owned by the First National Company.
Right, and then there was a bowling alley in that area too, wasn't there?
Yes, on the opposite side of the, at the head of Main Street, there was a bowling alley. But that had been renovated into something of a gift store for different kinds of interesting foods.
Okay.
Mostly canned good types
Yeah.
things.
So
And there was an ice cream store inside.
is that been torn down, that building? Or is it still
No,
existing?
that building is still there, and I don't recall who occupies it now.
Okay. We had a couple of pictures downtown, but I don't know where I put them in now. No, this is the next question though. Hang on to that photo. Oh, all right. So where were you? All right. So you got involved with, you changed jobs soon after.
Oh yeah, I left.
And
I
got
left
involved
teaching.
with.
I got a job with a travelers insurance company, and I went in the insurance business after that too.
Yeah. And you had an office in.
Had an office on North Main Street.
Okay.
In the Sangster building, which was an appliance store.
Now I hope I have the right side of the street, because this is the one that Ina Bomsey bought, this piece of land. It had the building on it, but it had a fire.
Yes, that's right.
She put the sculpture of her dog, and she gave the land to the Essex Land Trust. So everybody wins. It's a perfect little pocket park. And there it is, kind of hard to see from here, but there's a sculpture of the dog.
Yeah.
So that was a convenient spot.
That was a nice spot.
And then you got the political bug too. So was it because of your dad?
Yes, my dad was a state representative from Sprague in 1939 and 1941, and at the beginning of the Second World War. And I kind of got the bug or the interest from him and all the excitement wrapped around it. And so when I came to Essex, I was introduced to the Essex Town Committee, Democratic Town Committee, by Charlie Doan, who was something of a mentor for me, and my father too. And another man named Fred Fordham, who was a very kindly gentleman and knew a lot about politics. And shortly after being on the town committee, I was still in college, I became the town chairman in 1959, and the important year of 1960 when John Kennedy was elected president, and that was a very interesting year.
I'll bet it was, for sure. Oh yeah, so that, okay. So, here's my other question. So we have some pictures of downtown Essex. So you said less cars, there were less cars, and okay, that's your house that you lived in.
Yes, right.
And then we have looking down the street and looking up the street, okay. So, yeah, how else, is it more upscale?
Essex downtown has gone through some changes over the years. There were any number of stores where you could buy household goods, a dustpan, a broom. Mr. Freed had a store on North Main Street. There was a workman's clothing store on Main Street. The Camps clothing store was a men's store. And there were stores for ladies too. But it was active in that manner. And then over the years, it became an antique place, many stores of where the antique interests took over. And
now there is not one antique shop.
None, and now there's an awful lot of real estate agencies
estate.
on Main Street.
And money managers and banks, I guess.
Yes.
So, yeah, I've heard that before, that you would be able to just get everything you needed, right?
You could get grocery stores. There were two grocery stores downtown Essex.
Yeah. Now it's hard to find.
And a gasoline station.
Yeah.
And a drugstore.
Oh yeah, all the good stuff, and an ice cream parlor. An ice cream parlor, right?
And an ice cream parlor.
Yeah. So.
And a theater, a movie theater.
Oh,
where
yeah.
Talbot's is located now.
So we're
And a
gonna-
library, which was downtown too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know where that little building
Little
on.
building
What is
below
that?
the
South?
Congregational Church.
Yes, yeah. That's a beautiful little building, yeah. Someone's home now.
And in the little red office building, small house looking, right on a Methodist hill was Dr. Baldwin's dentistry.
Okay.
And there were three
okay.
dentists. There was
Yeah.
Dr. Silverman on North Main Street, Dr. Schreiber, Schreiber was in the post office building,
Yeah, so you just,
and Dr. Baldwin.
great. Yeah, I know where his house is up on, is it High Street or? Well, anyway, we're going to take a short break. We have a little 60-second PSA, so I think it'll tell you more about public access, I hope. So watch, but don't go away.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Mid-Shore Valley digital connection.
We're back, and I'm here with Carl Ellison, and we're talking about life in Essex from about 1956 to the present day. So you lived in your, was it an apartment or did you, it was an apartment, that blue house, right?
The blue house at the time was an apartment.
Yeah, and then you decided.
And there was quite a large barn attached.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, and that barn, people probably know that barn still. Well, what is it used for now? Is it just storage?
I have no idea. At one time, someone in town, I think it was Giff Warner, was constructed Blue Jay sailing boats, racing boats, in the back of it.
In there, yeah. Pretty nice. A lot of boats.
And there were no houses, very few houses on Bushnell Street.
Okay.
And the Dickinson property had open pastures next to their homes, and they would graze cattle in the pasture.
Now the Dickinson house would be
The mansion, and then there's a
the mansion.
home next door to it on Main Street, North Main Street.
Okay.
Yeah. And next to the smaller house, Dickinson house, was a open field with Black Angus cattle.
That's so hard to imagine now,
Isn't it?
right?
Yeah.
Imagine if someone was driving and saw a cow downtown. Huh?
Yeah.
So, but your family was starting to grow, and so you purchased.
When we lived on Bushnell Street, our two sons were born. Our oldest son is Todd, and he took an interest in piano very early on, and we by then we had moved to Iverton when we built a home in Iverton on Melody Lane, and Dick Riggio, who was a neighbor, was the contractor who built the house. And,
Yeah, and was he
that was in Todd was born in 1960, and that would have been about 1964 when we bought the property.
But he wasn't the Riggio that was in politics.
Yes.
Oh, he was.
my running mate for the second term when I was first selectman. And he became first selectman himself and served 6 years.
Yeah.
He also was chairman of the Regional Board of Education at one time.
Wow, busy guy. We have some photos of. There's your. Wait a minute. Tom.
That would be Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's such a cute baby. And he got you a job somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, Tommy
recently.
works for the Whalen Engineering Company.
Whaling Engineering.
He's the international sales manager.
Okay.
And he travels the world.
Yeah. And Emily, one of the staff people here, knew you from that job.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a part-time job with
Yeah.
Whalen's for about 13 years.
Keep
and
you
I
busy.
had another part-time job with Ellison concurrently for about 20 years.
Yeah. So both play. Now, Elsie Doan, are they still in biz?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes,
So two good places to work, I think, right?
Oh, both are wonderful places to work.
Yeah. And your other son, maybe you could talk a bit. You said he was interested in piano. There's the conductor.
Oh,
See
yes.
the conductor?
Oh, yes.
And so then how did that all pan out?
Well, he took lessons from a neighbor on Melody Lane, Beverly Astles. And she was a major, and she majored in piano and organ at Oberlin College. And when she had children, she decided to teach piano at home so that she could earn a few dollars, and Todd was her first student. And she taught him for about 10 years, and then he went on to Boston University and graduated as a piano performance. Yep. And he's been a musical director on Broadway for many years, and a conductor of symphony orchestras.
Right, right. And I guess he has a summer house here somewhere.
He does have a home,
Yeah.
yes, in Lyme.
And I know that he's very kind with coming down and doing some fundraisers for Valley Regional, right? Where
He has done fundraisers in the past, yeah. And he is on the board of directors of the community school. And,
Okay, and then I love your story you told me about your wife, who was a professional teacher her whole life.
she
didn't.
taught until she was 70.
Yeah, and loved the job.
Absolutely,
and she was
yes.
well loved.
Yeah.
And but tell me about her cooking.
She loved to sew and knit
Yeah,
and do crafts
yeah.
more than she liked to cook.
Yeah, yeah, and you said people would call when you first moved to town, oh, can you bake something for this or that?
And that was not her. she just couldn't bring herself to want to do that.
And we have the whole family. The picture,
Oh,
there
yes.
you are, yeah.
Yeah. That photo was in conjunction with a congregational church in Essex.
Oh, yes, I remember when
Some years ago.
Yeah, they did it for a few years, yeah, but
Right.
I don't know what they're up to these days.
Goodness knows.
So, of all the work you did over the years, what do you think was well, let's say, what was your favorite?
Well, I think being first selectman was very, very satisfying
Yeah.
and enjoyable, because you knew everything that was happening in town, and so you were part of something that was bigger than yourself. And I was fortunate to have a lot of help from lots of people, not only within my own party, but also in the opposite party.
Okay. And so as minority selectman, you didn't have that power, I guess. You just...
That was, I had been on the Board of Finance previous to that for about 6 years. And I was convinced to run for a minority selectman position. And that was the year that Kelso Davis became first selectman in 1969, I believe it was.
So what do you feel were the most important things you did? You talked about the bicentennial.
Yes, the bicentennial stands out in my mind because in 1976, the Bicentennial Committee decided to take on a project and help commit the town to forming the Connecticut River Museum, which obviously is very successfully done. And that was a major part of the whole idea of the bicentennial, was to further the things in town to benefit the benefit of the town.
Yeah, for future
And I think that, and I think the renovation of the town hall originally
Oh, yeah. You
in
told me how.
1975.
So you were in the town hall at that time, but then
We
they just
were, and that was a year of
redid it.
the first. The reconstruction began around September or October, and the first thing that happened is they took the furnace out. The workmen, the
Yeah,
construction
that was
people,
a good story.
and all the people in the town hall froze all winter, but they kept their coats on and they kept the town hall open too.
And no complainers, huh?
And at the end of that year, when the town hall was finished, I asked the Board of Finance to dedicate the town report to the town employees.
Oh, that was a good
That was in
idea.
1977.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see, you were, they once dedicated it to you. Oh, let's see, I guess that's, but anyway, before that, oh, and tell me about lands. You were the first guy to get some open space,
Well, when
right?
Kelsel Davis was first selectman, the Warner property in Iverton came on the market. And it was his idea, and I agreed, because I happened to be on the Board of Selectmen at the time. I agreed that that made sense. And so that property was purchased with a grant from the federal government and a grant from the state and a contribution from the town of Essex.
Okay, that was Bushy Hill.
That was the first open space purchased
So
in town.
we have that
And to
property,
Mr.
yes, there it is.
To Mr. Davis's credit, I think that belongs to him.
Okay, and then we have the other
And then the Canfield property became available in 100 acres in Essex and 100 acres in Deep River. And Mrs. Wallace, who was first selectwoman in Deep River at the time, she and I worked with Mr. Canfield to bring that about.
Okay, and there's another sign, another photo with a street sign there it is, so you could find one of the entrances.
Oh, yes.
There's 3, I think, in Essex and then another in Deep River.
Oh, yes.
So, oh, and then I wanted to say that the annual report was dedicated to you. We have a picture of you on that annual report. So was that, how do they do that? Who decides anyway?
I was on the town's retirement board, and one of the ladies on the board wanted to take my picture, and I didn't exactly know why.
Oh.
So that's when it was done, following a meeting.
Yeah,
And
the annual report. And then you were also let's see, for the 4th of July parade.
oh yes, in Iverton, yeah, that was fun.
And you said I guess you had the right credentials to do that. You didn't know what the job description was, but for being the...
That was one of the early parades, yes.
So what, you on still some commissions?
No, just the Essex Town Committee.
Okay.
The Democratic Town Committee.
Yeah.
And
And that, you're on still on the retirement? No?
have I what?
Retirement commission?
I was on the retirement board for
But you're not.
20 years.
Okay.
And on the Board of Finance for 20 years.
Okay, and, but I know you're involved with the Essex Memorial Hall.
Yes.
So could you tell, what's going on with that? I know they're trying to raise
the
funds.
Essex Veterans Memorial Hall
And we have a photo.
was founded in 1947 when it was formerly an elementary school in Santa Brook. And when the schools when they consolidated the 3 grammar schools in town and built the Santa Brook Grammar School, the town gave the property to the veterans for $1 to use as a clubhouse, provided that any time in the future when it was no longer going to be a veterans club, that the property would revert to the town. But it still is active as a veterans club, and we're in the process of raising money through the Essex Foundation and other means to put an addition on. And we think with that addition to the kitchen area, we'll be able to have the meeting room a more active place for people to rent from time to time for
Oh, that's nice.
Following
Such a
funerals
nice
or for baby showers. And
central
so on.
location.
It's a very central location. And the
So that's
parking would be adequate. And
Yeah. Well, good. I hope they raise their money. I think they're still looking for.
At this point, I think it's done very well, and it's from a lot of generous people.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any other? I'm running low on questions. Did you have another question for me or for?
No. I'm just pleased I had a chance to talk with you.
Okay, so now I have to ask you, what are your plans for the future?
That kind of goes. The only thing I can think of, and I think I've given this answer most of my life, is I've often wondered what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Okay. Well, I hope I'm around to see what your next adventure is going to be.
I appreciate you're inviting me today. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, Carl. And this concludes our program for today. I hope you have enjoyed it and learned from it. The shows we do on the Looking Back series air every Monday night at 7 o'clock on Channel 19, the Valley Shore Community Television or public access television. So that's it for now. Oh, and thanks for watching.